I'm aware I now stand between yourselves and your comfort break, so I will make it swift. Really just to bring you up to date on where we're at in terms of the 22.1 million, which is 44% of the money allocated to implement the Child Poverty Action Plan. Just to give you a wee bit of process, the COSLA, which is the governing body for policy and resources to local government, agreed an allocations distribution policy for the initial £12 million plus the £4.1 million. So 16.1 million of the 22.1 million local authorities are already aware of their allocation as per the settlement distribution group. The 4.1 million, in addition to the original allocation, was to enable a closer link with early learning and childcare, both in terms of access to childcare, but as importantly, an alignment with the development of the childcare, early learning childcare workforce. So again, trying to link with local government either around their procurement or their workforce development and what opportunities might exist to get workless parents into that kind of employment plus skills training, because most of it is around second chance apprenticeships as well. The further 6 million allocated for disabled parents, we are currently in discussion with Scottish Government around how that will be allocated. I think we're all clear it will be aligned to the Disability Employment Action Plan, as mentioned earlier, and that should be earlier in the new year. That money will come on stream. The bulk of all the money will come live from April 2020, so there is plenty of time for partnership involvement. There is an element of the initial money that will be live probably in the first quarter, January to March, and that's mainly because we're still discussing the proportionate reporting arrangements. I think, as Hannah said, the local child poverty action plans highlight that we need to be able to evidence the impact that we're having on the priority families. So we are looking at what management information data local government and Scottish Government will share to enable us to get some detailed analysis so that we can direct and target our resources where they're having most effect. And we're in the kind of final stages of those discussions. Just to recap on the Parental Employment Support Fund, as Jim mentioned, it is around a more person-centred approach, a more intensive key work support for parents out of work, but more importantly in work. 12 million of the 22.1 million, 65% of that 12 million is for in-work support. So again, looking at how parents are supported to increase their income from employment, either through increased hours or through upskilling and improving their earnings potential. So again, we're looking at designing what works and what we have evidence of. I think it's important to say that we are looking at a whole system approach in delivering this, so where people require interventions on money advice, childcare, health, housing, that we are putting together an integrated package of support. And it's about helping parents who are already in work to remain in work and progress. We are looking to align it with the No One Left Behind employability support. And as you may know, we are looking at transforming that system so that it is very much user-led. So the individuals who we intend to support have a lot more say over the support they require and the way they wish to receive it, and that they have an individual action plan, so it isn't a one-size-fits-all service, so it is customised and personalised. And a lot of this will happen in neighbourhoods and communities. So whilst there is an overarching national and local framework, it will very much be in the communities where people network and where they do their day-to-day business. So as far as Jim's concerned, we were looking at more personalised family support, and in some areas you may choose to target particular localities or particular groups where the evidence tells you that you need more intervention. So we're not necessarily looking at a universal service where it then becomes so diluted that we don't really help anyone. So we're looking at local evidence, directing where we may want to target amongst those 6 families. The opportunity this afternoon to hear from 3 examples of where parents are currently being supported through Aberdeenshire, Edinburgh and Falkirk. But I think, to reiterate, this is an opportunity for us to move away from the traditional employability support and take that flexibility of delivering a more personalised service where we're not being paid on outcomes, we're not being paid on how many of this, how many of that. So there is the opportunity to actually take the whole system, whole person, without having to tick boxes to get the money. So local government and Scottish Government are signed up to that more whole person, whole system approach, and the management information system that we're currently developing will help to then provide the evidence of the impact rather than counting everything that moves. So it's the eventual outcomes and impacts that we're interested in, and the learning that we can take in the first year and in the second year will be fed into the service redesign of Scotland's employability services. So this money is time limited, but I think, as Jim said, it isn't always about more money. It's how we use the money we have more effectively, and we should, through the Parental Employment Support Fund, be able to look at some tests of change locally. And that's why we will also be looking to engage housing leads, procurement leads, HR leads, etc. We're starting off today with the child poverty leads and employability leads, but as we start to develop the propositions locally, it should involve a lot more actors locally who are engaging with the individuals we're trying to target. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea that we do have a blank sheet. We're not coming here today. There are some indicative propositions and some thinking that's gone into it from the employability leads, but the engagement today is to help shape that and shape it further. And I think to take some of the points that Jim and Paul and Gavin have made and how we weave that in to how we move forward. So I would encourage us all to think outside the box. It is a bit more innovative funding than we're used to getting, and we want to demonstrate the difference that it can make when you have that flexibility. So we will hear in the afternoon some examples, but I think the session after the break is really for you to start to throw about ideas for what you've heard and bring it back to your kind of local areas, whether that's across the region or your locality or in the neighbourhoods. So your local employability lead at the table will be able to let you know the kind of money that you might be talking about. I don't expect this will be the first meeting. This is to kickstart the discussions, and I think, as Paul said, to start shaping what goes into future child poverty action plans and reports moving forward. So that's all I would like to say, because I know you're all waiting in your coffee break, your tea break, comfort break, whatever. So thanks for your attention to everything you've heard this morning. And Hannah, I don't know how long we have. You want to?
I've got lots of it. Brilliant, cheering.